Welcome back to Just a Guy Reviews. I'm Matt Sula, and today's special presentation is Damien Chazelle's epic Babylon. Babylon, directed by Damien Chazelle, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, starring Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and Diego Calva. This movie is set around the 1920s film industry when they're going from silent films into what is known as the talkies. And this movie is a fucking wild ride. Very wild ride. It starts off hot and heavy. The first 30 minutes of this movie is just basically a party montage. Almost something like back in the day, if you remember Project X. Almost something like that, but for the 1920s. In the first 30 minutes of this movie, you get an elephant shitting on a dude, a woman peeing on a man, tits galore, a woman ODing. This is some crazy Hollywood shit. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and it was a lot of fun. I was having a lot of fun. It was a wonderful experience. I would say if you can watch this movie on the biggest screen possible. It doesn't quite hold what today's blockbusters are, with explosions everywhere and shit falling down, all this CGI. It is just a spectacle like something I've never seen, almost Gatsby-esque, what this party was. The second half hour of this movie, also just another montage. It was basically a filming montage, watching all these different sets shooting their movies at the same time, and everybody just pretty much having to do this, do that. Oh, the lighting needs to be perfect. Everyone needs to get in line. Everyone needs to hit their spot exactly. Do this, do that. It was a very fast-paced, moving environment that, again, I just had a great time watching. I love montages. I love any kind of montage. My favorite montages are any boxing movie. You know, the workout montages in Rocky are the best. But these two montages that were basically a half hour each were both spectacular. I had a wonderful time watching them. The next pretty much half hour to 45 minute of the film is the transition period that we're watching. It's from when they're going from silent films into the talkies. And you have to watch Margot Robbie's character, let's say, is a up-and-coming actress who just got her start. She's very charismatic, very raunchy, very sexy, and she's getting everyone's attention in the silent film industry. But then she has to very quickly pivot and transition into the talkies, where she has to hit her marks. She has to hit exactly where she has to stand on set to make sure that she's right under the microphone so that they can hear her when she speaks. She can't speak too loud because, the talkies are brand new. Everything's going to go wrong. The speakers blow out. Her voice is horrible, they say. Yada, yada, yada. It becomes a problem. She's becoming less and less of a star. She's becoming difficult to work with. It's wild. So you get to see basically how she came to fame so quickly and is starting to come back. Brad Pitt's character, already established, already a veteran to the acting game in the silent films. He's already one of the biggest stars in the world. Everyone knows him. Having a difficult time as well transitioning into the talkies. And he gets these roles. He does them. Everyone's starting to be like, "Oh man, how you doing?" He's like, "Why are you doing that? Why? What do you mean? What's wrong? Why do you want to know how I'm doing?" Come to find out that he sneaks into one of his own movies, and everyone is just laughing at his performance. Everyone thinks it's terrible, and he's starting to realize that he is an actor on the decline. And then, the next part of the movie, it gets really fucking weird. Diego Calva's character, I should mention, started off in the beginning. He's basically cleaning up after the parties. He's cleaning up the elephant shit. He's doing all this shit, and he's soon building his way up through connections. He becomes buddies with Brad Pitt, and he's starting to become an executive film studio president, yada, yada, yada. And he's really the least interesting part of the movie, but good nonetheless. He put up a good performance, I thought. Then it gets kind of weird next. Very weird. Um, there's a scene, Margot Robbie, she's starting to spiral. She's getting in deep. She's getting in deep with the sharks, really. She's got a gambling problem, as has been said throughout this entire movie. And she's down bad. She's down about $85,000, and she's got to pay it back. She goes to Diego Calva's character for help, where he then asks one of his people to, hey, help me out, get me 85,000. We'll worry about it later. So while he's trying to help her, they get in some deep shit, and this is about 2 hours and 20 minutes into this movie. I should note that is it. This movie is 3 hours long. 3 hours. It's advertised as 3 hours and 9 minutes, but that's only because the credits last 9 minutes. It's a 3-hour movie, which I know is not a lot of people's cup of tea. I fucking loved almost every single minute of this movie. I only got up to pee once. But as I was saying, this gets into some weird shit. It was about this point in the movie, as I said, 2 hours, 20 minutes. I was like, I know Tobey Maguire was supposed to be in this movie. He was in on the promotion. I saw his name whenever I would Google it. I haven't seen him yet. And all of a sudden, here he pops up looking just fucking horrendous. He looks terrible. Red circles around his eyes. He's pale. He turns out to be a weird cat. He takes Diego Calva's character down to this club. And he's like, oh, actually where we're going is 2 floors down. They see a Goonies-looking character with a deformed face. It was terrifying. But that's not what they're there for. They're there to see what Tobey Maguire's character defines as a warrior. As you gotta see this guy. He's a spectacle. He's a star. And this was my favorite part of the movie, because the filming gets so weird when everyone's moving. You see like green and red lights going back and forth. It was getting really distorted. It was really fucking weird. But you see who I imagine is the Mountain from Game of Thrones. I don't know if it is him. Probably should have looked that up. But he looks like the Mountain. He's this giant fucking guy, ripped to the gills. And he's just like, this guy will do anything you want if you pay him. And apparently someone paid him. He opened up a box, reached inside, grabbed a rat, and just shoved it in his mouth and ate it. It was fucking wild. This movie takes you by surprise the entire time. It's like every 30 minutes is a different movie. It's a different feel. It's a different experience. I thought this movie was so great. Which actually brings me to the end. The end is Diego Calva. He basically goes to the movies for the first time in 20 years. We fast forwarded to the 1950s, and he sees what has become of the film industry nowadays. They're fully into the talkies. They're fully into sound with their movies, which today I know most people couldn't even fathom. But he gets there, and all of a sudden this crazy editing montage of like films in the future. They have The Matrix, they have Jurassic Park, they have Ben-Hur, Gladiator. They have so many different movies, and it becomes almost like Clockwork Orange when they take the guy, they put him in the chair, they keep his eyes open, and it's just a montage of flashing pictures and lights. This could have caused seizures for sure. Like, just the flashing lights. It's like if you ever seen the what's it called? All the Lights music video for Kanye West. The beginning it says, flashing lights may cause seizures. Do not watch if you're prone. They really should have had a fucking warning at some point at the beginning of this movie or something. But it was absolutely insane. I loved every minute of it. Again, 3 hours. I know it's not for everybody. I wouldn't recommend this to most people. But I thought it was an absolute blast. I would say if you can, maybe watch it in 2 parts. Watch the first hour and a half. That's almost one movie. And then the next hour and a half, that's almost another movie. It feels so different the entire time. It really doesn't matter. This movie really reminded me of Boogie Nights, almost, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie, which I wasn't the biggest fan of, but it's basically, there's not a whole lot of a plot going on here. You're basically just hanging out with these characters for 3 hours. And they are all people that I would say you'd want to hang out with. You'd want to hang out with Brad Pitt for 3 hours. You want to hang out with Margot Robbie for 3 hours. These are all very charismatic actors who put up great performances. Not that I think this was one of the best movies of 2022. It's probably right on the cusp of one of the 10 best movies, but I wouldn't put it up there quite yet. What I found very interesting was when I Googled Babylon. Again, much like I always do, I go and look at the ratings, I go and look at the scores, and it had a 55% critic, which was crazy to me. I thought for sure when I stepped out, this was going to be one of those 95% critics and like 50% audience, which it was. It's got a 51% audience, but the 55% critic very much surprises me. Now, what is really surprising is if you look right next to, on Google, they have the 3 scores right next to each other. Right next to the Rotten Tomatoes, they have IMDb. And IMDb, it's got a 7.4. A 7.4. Which basically means if you're like me and you liked it, you fucking loved it. This is a very, very high score movie. I know I listened to a certain podcast that the guy who hosts is basically like, this movie is an epic. It's a masterpiece. This is what movies are. And I kind of have to agree with him. This is what movies should be. Maybe not 3 hours long. All of them certainly shouldn't be 3 hours long. But this one deserved it. This one deserved it. Like I said, it reminded me of Boogie Nights. It kind of reminded me of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino movie. I thought Damien Chazelle did a fantastic job with this. If you don't really know much about Damien Chazelle, or you don't know his past work, he did La La Land and Whiplash. Whiplash is fucking incredible. I can't recommend that movie enough. Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons, two of the best performances, probably the 2 best performances of their career. I would say La La Land I haven't seen yet. I'll get around to it at some point. But the 2 Damien Chazelle movies I've seen, 2 for 2. This guy's putting on a clinic right now, and I hope he continues to make more outrageous movies like this. So, my final score for Babylon is going to be 3.95 out of 5. I can't right now put it at a 4 quite yet. I will probably rewatch this when it comes out on a streaming service, and we'll see how I feel about it then. That might, if it's rewatchable at that point, it's probably going to get bumped up to a 4, 4.1, something like that. But that is my review of Babylon. Please check out allion.com, where I put up movie reviews almost every day, if not every other day. It's whenever I watch a movie. It's new, it's old. I recently just did Enough Said, which is a Julia Louis-Dreyfus, James Gandolfini rom-com from 2013. It was really good. I would recommend it. Check us out on Twitter at All Eyes on Twit. YouTube right here at All Eyes On. And that is basically it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Matt Sula. This is Just the Guy Reviews, because I'm just the guy who loves movies. See you next time.